Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is May the 23rd, and this evening, a couple of videos have dropped out of Ukraine that you need to share and you need to see. If you see by the title, I had this face of this Ukrainian man, and I'm calling it spot on because he basically destroys Vladimir Putin's ploy about buffer zones in Ukraine in 60 seconds. Also, Mikhail Podolyak, the advisor to the office of President Zelensky's advisor, also nailed this argument down, warning the world not to fall for it. So here, of course, we want to see Putin saying, ouch, because the truth is being revealed and we must understand it. So first video I'm going to show you in this regard is the video of Vitaly Portnikov, and then I will conclude it with Mikhail Podolyak. Now, what is important is the world needs to see this. So I thank you right now for sharing it. Share it on your social media, because 60 seconds of truth is what you're getting ready to see from Portnikov. Now, if you take a look here, this is what he's talking about. You must understand the buffer zone reasoning or ploy that Vladimir Putin continues to talk about now, and even we heard Sergei Lavrov talking about it. Right now, I have the 5 regions circled in red that are occupied, in active war, or stolen previously. At the south is Crimea, of course, and then you come up, you have the Kherson, to the right, Zaporizhia, go up Donetsk, and then go up Lugansk. Additionally, I have highlighted in 3 regions for you to pay attention to. The very top of the map, right in the pink highlight, is the Sumy region. Right to the right of that in purple is Kharkiv. And below that in the gray is Dnipropetrovsk region. And we're not even talking about Mykolaiv and Odessa, but this is what image needs to be in your mind and in your head. And then we'll come back and look at it again. So let's get right to it. This is why you're here. You want to hear Portnikov.
We can't just withdraw to our region's borders. We must also accept that Russian troops will occupy parts of Kharkiv and Dnipropetrovsk to ensure security. Putin's talk of a buffer zone means Russian troops occupying parts of Kharkiv and Dnipropetrovsk to protect purely Russian regions. We understand this is a temporary solution. One day, these buffer zones will hold referendums on joining the Russian Federation. They'll declare Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, and Sumy as Russian regions, then create new buffer zones in places like Poltava. So, creating buffer zones mirrors the salami tactics, aiming to occupy all of Ukraine and return former Ukrainian SSR territories to a united Russian state with Moscow as its capital. The first stage is a union of Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. In the 2020 S2030s, other former Soviet republics will join this state. I previously excluded the Baltic states. Now, as the US president seemingly capitulates to Russia's, I think Moscow views the Baltics as territory to be reclaimed by Russia as the hegemon.
Holy moly. Did he nail it or what? 60 seconds and you see everything. He calls out how Russia will do the salami approach, and I'll show it to you right now a little bit more, and then we'll get to Podolyak. And then he calls out the capitulation of Donald Trump, seemingly right now, that brings other nations into danger, like the Baltic states. 60 seconds of brilliance right there, my friends. So what he's talking about is right now, the battle is Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, of course, Crimea. And I've already shown you this on the map. But what he's saying is Vladimir Putin wants to put a buffer zone in Sumy. He wants a buffer zone in Kharkiv. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a reason you keep hearing the Russian troops are only 1 kilometer from the Dnipropetrovsk region right here. Why? Because if he can get boots on the ground in here, Then he can hold a fake referendum. The same for Sumy, the same for Kharkiv. And then he said what? Well, it's Poltava next. And then they'll come Mykolaiv and Odessa and Chernihiv. And it's a salami approach. Just cut Ukraine up and march westward through referendums and time. And in the 2020s and the 2030s, you'll see other former republics fall under Moscow as well. So this is what he's talking about. That is 60 seconds of absolute brilliance right there. Please share it because people need to understand. Oh, well, he just wants a sanitary zone, a buffer zone. No, this is the strategy in addition to military. This is the strategy to take Ukraine. Mikhail Podolyak. No one, how can one, it's better said this way. How can one listen to quality leaders like this that surround President Zelensky and not understand these guys know what they are talking about? I mean, seriously, if you listen to even, I'm sorry, Trump and his administration right now, or even Putin, and I'll be honest with you, Putin and Lavrov, they do a pretty decent job speaking. I mean, it's full of lies, but they articulate it. Now, the propagandists are pure evil and despicable. But the guys, the Ukrainians that you hear from, and we need to hear more from them in English. And that's what I try to do and others try to do. But here's Mikhail Podolyak. And you just heard from Portnikov. How can you look at these guys and go, okay, they know what they're talking about. They do. Take a listen here at Podolyak. It's not just about territory. It's not as simple as we occupied this, just hand it over and recognize it as ours. No, give us the right to decide which territories. And tomorrow we might want to hold a few more referendums, like the one in Crimea on your territory, and then say that this region is ours now too. It's so obvious. And of course, Ukraine sees these demands as unrealistic. They certainly won't lead to the end of this war. So there you have it, guys. You have Podolyak and you have Portnikov, two guys you do not hear from a lot. You really hear from, like Zelensky and maybe Subiga. But the reality is these guys dropping heavy truth today. And the one, relatively unknown, Podolyak, absolutely laid it out there for the argument why buffer zones cannot happen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. I hope this type of information provides you with more context and understanding this war and how layered it is. Thank you for your support. Be blessed. We'll be back at you later.